We talked about it in advance, but new rules will force banks to conduct more derivatives transactions in euros in the EU. However, some politicians and experts consider the requirements to be too lax even. In view of Brexit, the European Union wants to reduce its dependence on the London financial centre. Banks and asset managers are to be forced to process more derivatives transactions in euros at clearing houses in the EU in the future. Negotiators from the European Parliament and EU states agreed on this on Wednesday night. Clearinghouses stand in the trade between buyer and seller and step in if one of the parties involved fails. And this is intended to increase stability and transparency on the financial market. However, the EU is very concerned that even 4 years after Brexit, a large proportion of derivatives transactions are still processed in euros at clearinghouses in London. In the event of a crisis, the European Central Bank, the ECB, and the Financial Market Supervisory Authority, ESMA, would be limited in their ability to intervene. In order to reduce risk and shift more business to the EU, clearing members will in the future have to maintain an active account with an EU clearinghouse. At least 5 derivatives transactions must be carried out per year in all relevant subcategories using this account. According to industry sources, this could add up to around 900 stores for large institutions and around 150 for smaller institutions. Since the Brexit vote in 2016, the importance of the United Kingdom for the German economy has steadily declined as well. But now things are looking up again. Is that a trend reversal now? Great Britain returns to the top 10 of Germany's foreign trading partners after a year, and the United Kingdom has overtaken the Czech Republic and Belgium and is now in 9th place, as the federally owned company Germany Trade and Invest, GTI, announced on Thursday, citing preliminary data from the Federal Statistical Office. The lead over the new 10th Czech Republic is comfortable enough to survive a possible minor revision of the data. The bottom in German-British trade has been passed, emphasized GTI. The strong development in the automotive industry, which is considered the most important pillar in the German-British exchange of goods, is responsible for the good balance sheet. Thanks to the strong new car market, German exports to Great Britain rose by 26.4% between January and November. But imports also increased by a good quarter with 25.7%. Overall, bilateral trade only grew nominally by 0.9% in 23, but that is significantly more than almost all other countries from the top 10, as the GTI emphasized. The importance of Great Britain for German foreign trade fell steadily after the Brexit vote in 2016. In 2017, the United Kingdom was in 5th place, but in 22 it slipped out of the top 10 for the first time in recent history, finishing 11th. However, the consequences of Brexit have not yet been overcome, warned GTI. The special automotive effect distorts the view of the overall development in trade, they say. If exports of cars and vehicle parts were excluded for production, the exchange of goods would have fallen by 4.3%. And there are still major hurdles, for example, due to strict British immigration law. This makes it difficult for German companies to send employees to the UK or provide services on the island. And recently, Great Britain tightened import regulations for foods such as meat and dairy products. And problems are expected there too. In principle, the company's climate and willingness to invest have improved significantly, as the company emphasized. With the kingdom's readmission into the European Horizon Research Framework and the German-British declarations of intent on cooperation in the areas of climate and energy, specifically in the hydrogen sector, the opportunities outweigh the risks in bilateral business, they say. The good balance sheet results from the strong development of the most important commodity in German-British exchange. As I said, that's the automobile. In 23, the British new car market recorded a remarkable increase of 17.9%, which in turn caused German car exports to the island to rise by 26.4%. However, these export data refer to the period from January to November 23, as the Federal Statistical Office does not yet provide full year data for 23 at the goods level. At the same time, the German passenger car market also recorded growth of 7.3%, as reported by the Federal Motor Transport Authority. This increase also helped increase car imports from the UK by 25.7%, and with the British returning to the top 10 of Germany's trading partners, have the consequences of Brexit also been overcome? As I said, the special automotive effect distorts the view of the overall development in retail. And as I said, if we take into account the mutual exports of cars and vehicle parts for production, which make up a significant share of bilateral trade at around 22%, the German-British exchange of goods even fell by those 4.3% I named earlier. Although German companies are getting used to the customs border, many challenges still exist. And this includes the strict immigration law, which makes it difficult to send employees to the island and to provide services. And with the further tightening of the British imports since January 31st, food and meat and dairy products have new hurdles. And added to this are the bureaucratic requirements associated with the introduction of the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, the so-called CBAM, on both sides of the English Channel. According to a survey by the German-British Chamber of Commerce, around 40% of German companies expect good business development on the island this year. The willingness to invest is also stable because the climate in British-European relations has improved significantly. In the good old Windsor Agreement from the end of February 2023, the British government of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak put the country on a normalization course in relations with the European Union. With the kingdom's readmission into the European Horizon Research Framework and the German-British declarations of intent and cooperation in the areas of climate and energy I named earlier, specifically in the hydrogen sector, the opportunities outweigh the risks in bilateral business. And with the third round of German-British research funding recently opened, research cooperation is also on the right track. But there's also a new book now that reveals how Brexit is reopening old wounds in Britain and deepening divisions. The author Ana Cabajosa gives a comprehensive insight in it. So the Spanish writer recently launched a new book, and her theme was the consequences of Brexit for Great Britain. And according to the news site iNews, her book discusses how Brexit has exacerbated existing problems in the UK. She writes about deep class differences, and it describes the clear separation between the north and the south of the country. And it points to resurgent nationalism. After moving to London in 2020, Ana Cabajosa noticed significant differences between the north and the south of England. And a report from the news site iNews highlights a remarkable encounter, one that Cabajosa had in the supermarket in northern England. There she chatted with a woman who revealed that she had not voted in elections for many years. It turns out that this woman didn't even know who currently held the position of Prime Minister. And for Cabajosa, this interaction highlighted the ignorance and political indifference that prevails in some parts of the country. She sees Brexit as a magnifying glass that magnifies the divisions that already exist in British society. In an interview with iNews, she said that class was an important factor. Her observation is that elite schools like Eton and Winchester often have a direct connection to the political stage. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is a good example, having attended Winchester while his predecessor Boris Johnson studied at Eton. In her opinion, this elite formation often leads to many people feeling unrepresented by politicians, and this may contribute to the political indifference she has noticed in Britain. In addition to the striking regional contrasts in England, Cabajosa has also observed a resurgence of nationalism in two specific regions of the United Kingdom. That's Scotland and Northern Ireland. Both countries have historically had a strong national identity and have seen their national aspirations reinvigorated by Brexit. It appears that many citizens in Scotland and Northern Ireland feel that their individual interests have been neglected during the Brexit process, as the report says, and as a result, this has resulted in an intensification of the push for greater national autonomy, in some cases even complete independence. And these developments have undoubtedly increased domestic tensions in the UK and represent an additional challenge in the post-Brexit era. But the book is not only critical. Cabajosa, who has worked as a correspondent in Jerusalem and Berlin for the Spanish newspaper El País, also praises the British sense of community and diversity. She believes that despite its problems, the country is a good example of multiculturalism, despite the racism we saw in recent years. And if you want to see something else, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.